Ryan Blaney wins and Kyle Busch's terrible season continues, this time off the hood of Corey LaJoie. Let's get into it. Coming up next. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing good today. All right, first things first, Ryan Blaney gets the win, the 12th of his career and the second of this season, putting him one win behind, of course, the big four of Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, and William Byron, who all sit at 3 wins. Ryan Blaney is now only 1 win behind them, trying to get that coveted, of course, maximum playoff points and things like that. So big win for him, but it is also a big win for Ford, who started off the season very slowly. But as the season has continued, Penske and RFK have started to show speed with that new Dark Horse Mustang. So this is also a big win for Ford as far as that goes. And I just mentioned Penske. It's also a big win for Penske because a lot of the criticism of Penske this season has been, yes, they're good at short tracks. They're very good there, but they haven't been good at some of these big tracks yet. Well, this is a pretty big track. Pocono carries a lot of speed, and they showed today that they are good at the big tracks now. And usually the speed at Pocono carries over very well, at least in previous history of going over to the Indy Oval. That speed has carried over and gone over well. So you have to say Penske probably has to be now your odds-on favorite going over there to the Indianapolis Oval. And it's a new racetrack that this car hasn't seen yet. Not necessarily a new racetrack for NASCAR, but a new racetrack that this car hasn't seen. And when you have a new racetrack that this car hasn't seen, typically that lines up for Joey Logano, and Penske having speed here at Pocono only is going to further that. So Penske looking good going over there to Indianapolis. All right, let's jump right in to that top 10. A good race for Ryan Blaney, of course. He wins the race. Denny Hamlin scores the most points in this race by winning the stage and then finishing well, winning the second stage and finishing well in the first stage. So he's going to stack up the most points for this race. Alex Bowman, good run for him coming off the win last weekend. William Byron, also a good run for him. He scored the second most points with stage points and all that today, finishing 4th here. So good recovery for him. He had been having sort of a little bit of a slump here. Joey Logano, 5th place, so 2 top 5s for Penske, which is something I should have mentioned when I was talking about Penske earlier. But yeah, 2 top 5s at this track for Penske. So, like I said, the momentum's starting to peak Penske's way, and it's an even year. So Joey Logano and then your defending champion Ryan Blaney and Austin Cindric into the playoffs already as well. So all 3 Penske cars in the playoffs. At number 6 here, you got Tyler Reddick, continues his hot streak of recently. Brad Keselowski finishing 7th. Martin Truex Jr., who won the first stage, finishing in 8th place there. Chase Elliott, who probably had the fastest car, at least from what I saw, he looked like he was able to move up through traffic and come through there a lot better than a lot of other cars. I feel like if he hadn't had that speeding penalty there on that last pit stop, he probably would have had something to say about the outcome of this race. Whether he wins it or not, I don't know, but he definitely had a car that could come through the field pretty easily relative to other drivers. It was a hard track to pass at. Pocono always has been a hard track to pass at, but I feel like Chase Elliott, that pit penalty might have gave one away there. Bubba Wallace finishing 10th there, didn't have a great car today, but manages to get that 10th place finish, and that's going to be big for him because he is on that playoff cut line. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Some other drivers having trouble, of course. Chris Buescher finishing 11th, Christopher Bell 12th, Kyle Larson 13th, Eric Jones 14th, which is good for Eric Jones. It's good to see him getting a good run here. He was in the top 10 at various points in this race, so good to see that 43 car getting some positive momentum. Then you got Chase Briscoe and Daniel Suarez rounding out your top 16. So I mentioned the stage winners, and it was a sold-out crowd, but that sold-out crowd, a lot of those guys didn't get to see either the first or the second stage because they were stuck in traffic. So let's address this at this point before we get to the bad race, because this might possibly be the worst part of the race, if we're being totally honest. Official traffic statement: as a result of severe and dangerous weather early this morning, event staff, fans, and competitors were instructed to seek shelter for their safety. This safety protocol was in place for approximately 1 hour. This unforeseen situation caused an unprecedented delay in our parking operations. As a company that prides itself on honesty and transparency, we will make this right for those affected. We encourage all fans affected by this delay to contact us via PoconoRaceway.com/feedback. We are committed to doing right by our fans and work diligently to provide a solution for everyone affected. Thank you for your understanding and patience. So that was bad. Probably, in my opinion, the worst part of the weekend. You always want to take care of the fans. Now, they're probably going to refund tickets or give you tickets to another event, but that's still not going to cover your gas. It's not going to cover your food. It's not going to cover your hotel expenses, things like that. I don't know that they're going to pay that back. I'm pretty sure they won't, but they'll probably give you a free ticket. So I guess they're trying to do something there, but it is still an absolute bummer and an absolute L for Pocono. A lot of people didn't see the first. Some people just turned around and went home. They said they sat in gridlock for 2 hours, just turned around and went home. I saw that on Twitter for sure, or X, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, this was definitely a disappointment. Speaking of disappointment, number 27 here, Ty Gibbs, looked like he had the car to beat early in the first stage. After that, he got caught in traffic. We don't know if the motor was starting to go sour at that point or what, but after he lost that clean air, he was never the same, and then that motor absolutely grenaded. And this has been a trend for Joe Gibbs Racing in the Xfinity Series and in the Cup Series. These Toyota engines have been expiring at a much higher rate than we're used to seeing them, so this is something we could be looking at going forward. Is Toyota sort of pushing the envelope? Are they feeling the pressure from Ford and Chevrolet to make these engines run better, or whatever is going on? Because you never really see this many engines expire, especially with this new engine package and new car. Then you got Kyle Busch here, whose god-awful season continues. Just bad luck once again. 32nd for Kyle Busch there. He was taken out in the Corey LaJoie incident, which we're going to talk about here in just a minute. But other cars involved in that Corey LaJoie incident, of course, are Ryan Preece, Harrison Burton, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Austin Cindric got a piece of it as well. Basically what happened is Kyle Busch threw a block early on, then he moved back in line. Kyle Busch held his line. Corey LaJoie went low and came back up, and it was egregious. It was, in my opinion, 100% on purpose. He wrecked Kyle Busch, but we'll see what Corey LaJoie had to say about it after the fact right here.
It's in the hornet's nest, and you're 7 wide into one. If you're not the guy in the bottom, somebody else behind you is going to jam it in there and put you freaking middle, right? So I had a bit of a run. 16 gave me a big shot. I got to the left rear of the 8, and he blocked it once, and I just kind of held the wheel straight, and I was almost anticipating our bumpers kind of lining up and giving him a little bit of a shove, but when he blocked it the second time, it just turned him across my nose, and it tore up some good cars.
Did you think you were going to have enough room to get back behind
That's
him?
one of those. I mean, I spun out Jimmy there when he checked up, in Kansas, kind of same thing. He checked up super early, and I didn't see the smoke. He checked up, and I got in the back of him, and he spun down to the bottom and got me in the left rear, so I had flashbacks to that. So I wanted to make sure I gassed it up and didn't get hit in the left rear, which I'm glad we didn't, but I know some other guys behind us did.
So that's what he told Bob Pockrass. He said that Kyle Busch moved down on him, which just, if you look at the video, I can't show it because NASCAR is going to strike it. But if you look at the video, Kyle Busch holds his line. Corey LaJoie is the one that moves up, and it's egregious. It's not even close. That people can call it a misjudgment. It's pretty much on purpose. He was upset, and this just isn't the type of track where you'd have that kind of payback. So I think it was pretty much not a great move. And to compound matters, there was the radio where you hear his crew chief say that Kyle Busch got what he deserved. He wrecked himself and got what he deserved, and both of which are not accurate, right? Kyle Busch did not come across his hood, so he didn't hook himself, and nobody deserves to go into the wall that fast or that hard. So that's not going to be a great statement, and the statement that's also not going to fly, I mentioned all those other drivers that were just in this wreck as well. It's not going to probably fly with Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who had nothing to do with it, and you took him out. It's probably not going to fly with the 21 car, who had nothing to do with this, and you took him out. Not going to fly with Ryan Preece, who had nothing to do with this, and you took him out, so on and so forth. So I think going forward, it might be a tough road to hoe for that 7 car, and I don't know. I'm also interested to see what Rodney Childers thought about that particular reaction as well. But unfortunately, we're not finished with the bad race, because there you see Ross Chastain, who was on the cut line, and I just mentioned Ty Gibbs on the cut line. Ross Chastain basically just self-wrecked. He wrecked himself. He hit the wall. But what hurt him there is he had a nice, comfortable points position, but this takes it down to minus 26, where he was sitting at plus 54 before this happened. So now he is at minus 26. Ty Gibbs went from, I think, plus 84 or something. He's down to plus 77 or something like that. Didn't necessarily hurt him as bad, but Ross Chastain really cost himself a lot of points. It's now him plus 26, and Bubba Wallace is minus 26 at the cut line. I don't know if I just said that right or wrong, but yeah, let's take a look at the points right now just so you can see what I'm talking about. Here's a look at the season-long points real quick before we jump into the playoffs, where Chase Elliott takes the lead by 3 over Kyle Larson for the regular season championship. Then you got Tyler Reddick, Denny Hamlin, William Byron, Martin Truex Jr., Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell, Brad Keselowski, Alex Bowman, Ty Gibbs, Chris Buescher, Ross Chastain, Joey Logano, and then Bubba Wallace and Chase Briscoe would be bumped out, leaving Chris Buescher and Ross Chastain on the cut line. Because, of course, Austin Cindric and Daniel Suarez are still both below top 16 in points, so they would knock out those next two. But I said there was pressure on Toyota to perform, and that might be why those engines are expiring. So let's take a look at that championship points battle for the manufacturers while we're on that subject. So there you see it right there. Ford at 736, making up significant ground now that the second half of the season has basically started. Toyota at 751, only 8 points behind Chevrolet there at 759. So anybody's battle for sure. But if you looked at it earlier in the season with us, you knew Ford was so far out of it, but they have jumped right back in this thing. And that's about all I got for you on this one. A few odds and ends before we jump off here. JD Motorsports has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, so that might be the end of them. Don't know if they'll run to the end of the season or what. And BJ McLeod is going to pull double duty at Indianapolis at the Oval, so look for him to be racing in both races over there. All right, that's all I got for you on this one. Thanks for your time. If you made it this far, would love to have your subscription. If not, I'll keep making these things. If you're already subscribed, you know I appreciate you all as well. If you got a question, comment, or anything like that, leave it down in the comment section. I'll try to get to as many of them as I can. And if you want to help out the store, help out the channel, visit the merch store. The link is in the description down below the video. And other than that, thanks for your time. Peace.